Okay, so now it's May 9th of 2023. We're going to cut the cops some slack here. Okay, that's what I'm going to title this video. Cutting the cops some slack. Now, obviously, that's Alex Jones up on BitChute, right? And he's in a part of his broadcast here where he's having discussions with police officers, people who work on the border, anyone that's oh boy, too early in the morning. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to these conversations and then just move forward with it, okay? So hold on.
7789 Alex, your phone calls are straight ahead. This is really important. After I take your calls, next hour I'll break down what I think is coming next. Now they're coming after our guns. Stay with us. All right, we're taking your phone calls right now. Let me just recap what's going on. Sources contacted me Saturday saying that the drug cartels are going to start attacking migrants to scare them from not coming across the border when Title 42 goes away, letting them know you still got to pay the cartels money or they'll kill you. That's what they do all the time on the Mexican side and on the U.S. side, and the media just sweeps it under the rug. Then all this stuff starts up, and the media says it's white supremacist, even though the stories don't fit. We're going down to the border starting Wednesday when Title 42 goes down on Thursday. I'll leave it at that, so pray for the operation and please support us. But two men with the same...
Okay, that's not where I was. I tried to cue it. Obviously, I missed it. Hold on a minute. Okay, I think this is it. We're going to be talking to John in Dallas, Texas.
In a moment, first we're going to go to Lee in New York.
Oh, first it's Lee in New York.
Who says he's a police officer on the attacks, immigration, getting bad. Then we'll go to Mike, Justin, and John. Go ahead, Lee. Thanks for calling.
Hey, good afternoon, Alex. I appreciate you taking my call and salute for everything you've done for all Americans worldwide.
Thank you, sir.
All patriots worldwide. So I just wanted to get down on this because I see a lot of immigrants coming through, whether they're illegal or legal, and I do see that there are...
I wonder how many illegal immigrants we have in the province of British Columbia, Canada. I know there's immigrants here that don't qualify for any health care services and have to pay when they go to a public hospital. That's why there's such a thing as called pharmacare fraud, right? But in regards to quote-unquote illegal, then well, I know they're running across the border up in the east coast of Canada, up over a mountain or something. And on the Canadian side, it's like they're received with apparently open arms and are protected, right, as they're crossing in, apparently, from the last time I heard about it. And then they're processed out into various parts of Canada, apparently, right? But nothing like the States.
Some are good.
And there is also identity theft. That was a big problem in Calgary a few years back. I remember the Calgarian police snagged in something like 3,000 false identity papers and IDs and everything that was being trafficked to bring in, I guess, illegal immigrants into the country with, false IDs, right? So it happens. We just don't ever hear about it.
Good. Some are bad within everything with human groups coming in. But I do see that a lot of them don't have the respect for American politics. They don't have...
And have I not mentioned that here in Canada? Right? It's the same issue out here in Canada. Right here in British Columbia, Canada. Right? God forbid, a white person can't experience racism from a minority, a so-called minority, right? Black people can't experience, well, black people always say they're experiencing racism, but what I'm trying to say is black people that are subject to the same type of racism, bigotry, prejudices, whatever, that white people are up in this parts of the woods, they're experiencing too, right? Because, you know, we're dealing with a lot of brown people here that if something was to happen to them, they'll be doing like the black people do in the United States. They'd be calling out the racists and accusing the government of being racist because the Punjabis are being picked on, right? Right? Basically, if something like what happened to Shimei happened in their community and the cops didn't do shit about it and covered it up to rip out their organs, oh my God, you'd have 500,000 Punjabis on the streets in a freaking day. That's how fast it would happen. It'd be nothing compared to what goes on in the United States when black people rally against so-called racism. But when the Punjabis or the brown people or people like them perpetrate the racism towards the Canadian-born people, in essence, okay, oh, it's a whole different story. And we can't confuse Canadian-born people. I'm going to get on with this in a minute. We can't confuse Canadian-born people. Okay. How can I explain this? You've got immigrants coming in over here from countries, some more so than other countries. We get a lot of Punjabis coming in because the pipeline has been there for a long time. Okay, that this is where the organized religion has had years and years and years, 100 years or something, to cement themselves into the community. Okay? So, like for example, my landlady and her husband came from India, moved here, were immigrants, had children, and then they had children. So the children of my landlords, yes, they're Canadian-born people. However, it doesn't remove them from the collective organized religion that is participating in criminal activity, people. There's no other way to say it. Whether knowingly or unknowingly. Okay? My landlady is on the fence. She knows, but she's also old, kind of stuck in her ways like my grandmother, and therefore makes her somewhat naive and unknowingly participating in things that she refuses to see or fails to see or whatever, right? Whereas people coming in today from India and wherever else, Syria or even Ukraine or wherever, they're all coming in with their bad attitudes from their backward ass countries with their backward ass thinking. Okay? And they do. They feel entitled and they feel they have the right to take what you have. Okay? Not in an open, blatant sense, but it's through a collective prejudice, right? Which opens up the gang stalking and whatnot, and then it goes into heinous crimes eventually. Because everybody's on the hunt for money by any means necessary. And many people that come into Canada are of criminal mind. But the criminal of mind are already here and well established within our public union sector. For example, that Punjabi with the turban that harvested my dead daughter's organs and sold them on the black market. Okay, and when I think like that, I wonder if my landlord got my daughter's heart. Seriously. Because there's a reason why these Punjabis live long out here. And it's not because they're all healthy. It's because there is a surplus of organs available to buy on demand, being that so many of them have a lot of money, to which now trickles down to, there's my landlady, there's her children, there's her grandchildren, to whom, under that system, would benefit if one of her grandchildren needed organs. Between the parents and the grandparents, they can rustle up the money to buy the organs to give to the grandchild, to which it becomes a family affair. Just like with Julian and his mother and his sister, that was a family affair. Okay? And that's how it becomes organized religion. Because they don't marry outside their race. Punjabis don't marry outside of Punjabis. You very rarely ever see that happen. Same thing with the Muslims, like, Syrians probably marry within Syrians, and, the Hindus marry within the Hindus, and the Chinese marry within the Chinese, the Catholics marry within the Catholics, and, so it's nothing new under the sun, but at the end of the day, we're facing a migration replacement population situation here, right? Where our governments, British Columbia, Canada, government is speeding up the process of the attack on the Canadian people that do not fit within that organized religion that facilitates a lot of crime in the community. It's a crime to be evicting thousands of people into homelessness, okay, just so that they can pretend that they're building buildings to save the world and house people. To which the government is fast-tracking, we heard that in my last video, they're fast-tracking the permits to have these corporations with their numbers, which are in essence the UN soldiers coming in through this immigration replacement migration program, to evict people like my household people, like my family. But they don't just evict us. They target us and they pick us off one here and pick us off one there and pick us off another one over there, injure one over here, one disappears over there, to weaken the family so that we can't fight back. And nobody really ever has a chance to talk about it. And when you do, you get fucking YouTube silencing you. BitChute is dropped. They run you through an algorithm. And I've noticed BitChute had me going through an algorithm where I was getting a fair amount of views for no reason other than, and now all of a sudden they drop right back down. Okay? YouTube keeps me down all the time. All the time. As truly amazing, a YouTuber pointed out that these guys that run around in the, and not photocopying, but recording homeless people out in the streets and don't really stand for justice, don't just putting the old okie dokie out, they get millions of views. And it's true, because it feeds into the government narrative that people on the street are useless. Kind of like what my landlady says to me, if you lose your eyesight, you're going to be useless, right? Okay, so anyway, I just want to say that a lot of what, I guess you could say, Alex Jones has to say is very comparable to what's going on in British Columbia, Canada, only it's going on in a different kind of way. Where they like to say in Canada, we're doing this legally because all these guys coming in to decimate communities so that the government can make an income. Basically, we heard it from the horse's mouth with the BC budget. If they didn't have the building boom, they wouldn't have the surplus. Okay? That's why they're fast-tracking the permits to build more housing. But how are they going to build more housing unless they tear down houses like mine and throw my family out into the street after they basically cut us into half by having the other half die and the other ones remaining some of them severely injured for life, while others are injured that maybe, you can't really see, but the injury is there and it's lifelong, right? Is the government not responsible for creating homelessness under those circumstances? But we all know the government's waiting for someone like me after I've been harassed for half my life in this house, right, to pick up a bottle and start drinking my troubles away. So that when the shit really hits the fan and I end up out in the street still drinking that bottle, then they can blame me for that, when in fact that's not the truth, people. The truth is the government wants those corporations with the numbers to tear down this house, tear down that house, tear, build, bring in more immigrants, overflood this, overflood that, overtax this, overtax that. And they're scooping up on the bodies as they're falling off the grid. Destroying lives.
Respect for the Constitution. They don't have respect if you pull out a camera and you record them. They have a lot of problems with the civilians flexing their rights, basically, and they don't understand that. So if they're pouring in by the thousands, that looks like basically it's an attack to make this like.
We have thousands pouring into BC, 10,000s at a time with no housing. The only housing that the government can rely on here in British Columbia, Canada, is for the Punjabis to tear down a whole bunch of houses, kick out the tenants, right? And build new housing, a stack and pack, as they bring in their invisible fences with their smart cities, right? Maybe you don't see the fence, but the fence is already in place.
Like a third world country. So the next time there's a collapse, next time there's an economic shutdown through COVID or whatever they have planned out, there's going to be 5-6 times fold. And that's what I think is going to be overrun. We have a lot of new recruitments out here in the streets. All the old recruitments, they went to Florida, West Palm Beach. They went to, they ran away from here because they knew what they were getting themselves into. They abandoned ship here in New York. And so the next time there's a collapse or next time there's a lockdown, there's going to be a lot more grand-scale riots. And I do for sure think that black people are getting hypnotized by people like that own Universal Studios, like Lucas Grange. He owns all the music out here, all the drill music. He manages Ice Spice, Tekashi 6ix9ine, and these people work with Alex Soros, which control the politicians and the police out here as well. So there's a lot of things that still need to be clarified out here, and I do blame a lot of the people that are around me, that are in my police force, that do not speak out on George Soros, that do not speak out on Alex Soros, because these are the people that actually control the politics out here in New York City and in the 5 boroughs and little Eric Adams.
Well, you're absolutely right, and what you said is the key to this. It's to bring the country down, destabilize it, so when there's another crisis.
Well, I don't know if they're trying to destabilize Canada, but they're definitely trying to destabilize a certain segment of the population that was born in this country. Not my landlady's grandchildren. They're not trying to destabilize their futures. Not my landlady's children. They're not trying to destabilize their lives. But they are trying to destabilize the Caucasians, especially those below a certain income level. I mean, you have to be a crook like an Eleanor Gilding in order to be able to get along in this fucking province and be safe. Okay? If you're not willing to commit crime, you gotta watch your bloody back. Okay? I'm just saying. So maybe that's why she can squeak on by. I don't know. Because she's a Caucasian. Other than that, a lot of Caucasians are being targeted out here. Mainly with the elderly, with their homes, because the government has already given the green light. Yeah, you can build as many buildings as you want. We're going to fast track them because we need the housing. But where are you going to get the land from? Well, you got to cut down you got to bulldoze, you got to demolition the old bungalows. Okay? You got to go into community after community after community and flush out those houses first before you can even build anything. And if they're full with old white people, because, they've been living here for 80 years and that's their home, Well, how are you going to do that? Well, through strategy, they're going to end up in the hospital, and the best way to solve the problem is just don't let them go back home. And then the house goes up on the market, it gets sold to a organized religion with their numbers, right? Their numbered corporations, that is, right? Okay? And then they just go in there and wipe it out. And whoever else was living in that house before that happened is toast. They're evicted, literally, into a housing market that they can't afford because that organized religion, which happens to be in my community, the Punjabis. If I went to Richmond, it would be the Chinese. Okay, I'm just saying. If I went to White Rock, it would probably be the Catholics. I'm just saying. They all banded together, knowing that the government will let them do whatever the hell they want. And they've made it so it's so unaffordable that people do remain homeless. And they lose everything. And it's on a mass scale in the United States, happening at a very accelerated rate. Out here, it's more insidious. You don't notice it as much, right? Because our population is small. It's easy to pick off one here and pick off another one there and pick off another one over there without really anybody noticing about it. And if they do notice and they don't say nothing about it, well, there's only two reasons. One, they don't want to say anything because they don't want to be targeted next. Or two, they're in agreement with it because somehow they feel that what you have belongs to them, or they should have what you have and you should have nothing. And that's why I'm always constantly being told to get rid of my shit. Sell your shit. Well, where does that come from? The fucking temple? Tell your tenants to sell their shit if they can't cough up $5,000 for the next fucking house after they've been evicted in a house that they've been living in for 14 years, so that some corporation with a whole bunch of numbers can come in and build some building that only some people can afford. I suppose that's where that subsidy comes in from with the government, with that housing subsidy, right? With the immigrants, they're going to stuff it full with a bunch of freaking immigrants with this subsidy, that subsidy from over there just to meet the fucking rent for the next generation of slums. As they fudge the numbers, saying that the economy is thriving with the employment rate, right, with only 4% of unemployment, which is a bunch of crock. Everybody knows that's a bunch of crock. And if they are working, at what wage? And if, you know what? Listen, my neighbors across the street are running a fucking shack with their fucking food. Okay? Talk about running a fucking shack. They're cooking fucking food in a stupid garage with a bunch of rats running in and out of it from underneath the freaking metal door. It's been going on for fucking years. The city fucking knows about it. The cops know about it. Everybody knows about it, but nobody does shit about it. Are they paying their taxes? Hell no. Is there any food safe in there? Hell no. Is there any work safe in there? Hell no. And those people, I'm wondering if they're being fucking trafficked. Seriously. They bringing in all these immigrants. Put them to fucking work. Make them work in a fucking garage, right? You know, cooking this and cooking that so they can order it out and send it here and send it there. Seriously. And don't tell me the city doesn't fucking know about it, because if they did, well, they do though. Because I've seen it. The city's been out there. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just using that as an example. Is that gainful employment? Well, hell, I bet you that one isn't even on the books, because that's being all done under the table, right? I already kind of talked about it before, right? That's immigrants feeding immigrants in their Kelsa schools and taking personal orders for delivery. And they do that every fucking day. They start at 4 in the morning and they continue until 5 in the evening. Yeah. And then they close their metal fucking garage door and you can see the rats running in underneath. Okay, there's your kitchen. Yeah, there's your employment. And I wonder if those women that work in there mainly, that's standing there all day cooking, right, for this, I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm wondering if they're being fucking trafficked. Okay, or are they just the Punjabis working hard? Just the Punjabis working hard. Yeah. Well, they got so much fucking money, why don't they give those women a proper kitchen? Seriously. Why don't they give those women a proper kitchen instead of having them in a fucking garage? Huh? So where's this employment coming from? Premier Eby? Seriously, where is it coming from? How are you going to employ all these people that can't speak English, have backward thinking, have bad attitudes, to fill up your box fucking condos at $3,000 a pop after you evicted hundreds of thousands out of their fucking homes to build those box units? Basically. Yeah. Because I'm not moving into one of them. They're not viable for me. No, no, no. I can't fit into that situation with my situation. It ain't gonna happen.
We collapsed, starting with the blue cities, which were once our greatest cities, meant to bring the entire country down. It just gave me chills, what you said, and I know a lot of great New York police officers, including SWAT team people, and I'm gonna leave it at that, and they're totally awake as well. For those that don't know, Soros runs the governor. He runs the...
And you see, my landlady's grandkids, they're not gonna say anything about the corruption. Right? Because they're waiting for their house. They have to stay quiet. Because if they start speaking out about the bad things that are happening, and they know that it's happening, they'll be ostracized and cast out. Yeah, they'll be cast out of the organized religion. Right? They might even be targeted. Who knows? Just to shut them up. Yeah. Yeah. And they'll never get a penny from the family. They'll never get a penny from the family. And they'll have to do it all on their own. And before that happens, they won't say shit because they themselves don't want to be targeted. Okay? And that's all being done through organized religion. And that's why it's the Caucasians who are namely targeted, the blacks who are namely targeted, and the natives who are namely targeted. Because whatever mentality that the Punjabis have, the Muslims have the same kind of mentality as a collective. Okay? And you can even say the Catholics. Because really, the Catholics are the leader of the fucking pack. When you take it back to the natives, when they scooped up all the native kids, the Catholics that is, and put them into residential schools and abused them for years. They were just more open and blatant about it. This is a different kind of takeover. It's throw them out on the streets and then hope that the hell that they get addicted to something so that we can blame them for being there. Because, you know, it's like Sierra. Oh, Sierra's doing really good. She's been doing really good for 28 months. We can't have that happen. Fuck no. We're just going to throw her out in the streets in the middle of winter. Yeah, cut her off of her methadone, cut her off of her support system, take her away from her child, leave her out there all by herself in the fucking snow. Right? We know that she's going to fall off the wagon. She can't get her methadone. So what's going to happen? Well, 10 days later, that was it. Somebody injected her with fucking heroin in her arm. The first time she ever had heroin injected in her arm. And from that point, she became a junkie. It was bad enough she was a drug addict. It got good there for a while when she stabled out for those 28 months plus the months that she was pregnant. So we can say 3.5 years, 3 years, right? But they weren't happy with that. No. Social workers threw her out and turned her into a junkie. So that Wonder Vancouver, let's record everybody out on the streets, can have everybody mad at Sierra for being out there strung out on dope. That, you know, the Punjabis are running in the community. Not all, but a whole lot of them are. Which again falls under organized religion. Right? But it's taboo to talk about that. Because if you talk about it, then you have to clean it up. And if you clean it up, then you're not going to be able to have as many houses as you already own. Because the ones that you own isn't enough. Right? They want more. More and more and more. More reason to build in these box houses where you've got 3 houses right, compared to 133 suites. If you can make money off of 133 suites compared to 3 houses, which one would you choose if you were money hungry?
Mayor, he runs the DAs, he runs the prosecutor.
So the grandkids could have a place to live at the expense of. What do you think's going to happen to my grandkids? Well, all we have to do is look at their parents to kind of figure it out, don't you think? In terms of the great grand scheme of things.
He runs them all. And they even have these...
Like my grandkids don't have a fighting chance. No. Not a fighting chance.
colleges for them where they all get them together and launch their attack.
They will never be Punjabi. They will never be Syrian. They will never meet other people's expectations with their organized religion, whatever that religion may be. And they'll always be subject to exploitation. Yeah. Because our governments are bringing more and more and more of this dysfunction into our community as they encourage the dysfunction to kick out the families so that they can boost up their fucking budget. Without the house building, there'd be no budget.
Against Trump and everybody else, but at least the police on average are awake. God bless you, sir, and thanks for calling. All right, let's go ahead and talk to Mike, the Special Forces on the migrant issue from Florida. What's your take on what we've been talking about?
Well, Alex, I spent quite a few deployments down in Central and South America working with counter-drug units, human trafficking units, to curtail this. And where I live in Florida now, I'm retired, is probably the reddest area of the country. But in the last 2 years, there has been this dynamic shift where you have a population that has essentially infiltrated the area.
Okay, this, like the Punjabis, they've infiltrated Canada, mainly the West Coast at this point. Not to say that they're not all over Canada, but they're highly concentrated in British Columbia, Canada.
And has created an entire subculture.
And they are definitely their own entire subculture. They do not breed outside their race. However, I do believe that they use people's eggs like chamois for, who knows? Who knows? They're doing something, no, I can tell you that right now.
And from what I see, because my background also is in surveillance, I see a lot of gang members, groups of 5, groups of 6.
I see a lot of UN soldiers, groups of 10, groups of 15. Okay, we're not talking 5 or 6, we're talking 10 or 15. And that's what you can see. That's not what's fucking lurking. But you have to remember, you got 10 or 15 on a 1 block radius in fucking 4 or 5 different houses, if not more. Okay, if not more. So you got a 1 block radius all the way around, and on that block it's a whole bunch of houses, and within all those little houses you've got 5, 7 different houses with 10 or 15 soldiers just waiting for the call. In terms of bulldozing house after house after house after house after house, so that they now created themselves a job to build a building that at some point they're going to capitalize on and run it to the fucking ground, and it will be the next generation of slums.
10 that all kind of mingle together and are setting up shop, essentially.
Shop has already been set up in British Columbia, Canada.
And things that you've mentioned before about, these folks getting free phones, free debit cards, and law enforcement here is blind. They have no idea what is going on.
Well, that's where I differ in British Columbia, Canada. Law enforcement is involved out here because we're trafficking body parts. Okay? Not all cops, I'm sure, but there is a group of cops that can't wait for those bodies just to pop up in people's basements like Chimay popped up.
I've tried talking to them about that. Like, you need to be aware that this community has now created another community within this area.
And explain to them how Mexico...
Yeah. The thing is, though, Punjabis like to be with Punjabis, so the further you go towards White Rock and places out like that way, that's where you're going to start finding your monster house after monster house after monster house. You go to the local park and it's nothing but Punjabis running around. And if you show up, everybody looks at you like you're a stranger. Like, in terms of, you look strange, you don't fit in because you don't. You're white, and everybody else around you is Punjabis, with a whole lot of them wearing fucking turbans. Okay? I'm just saying.
felled a gang.
Not too many of them living out here, but they do. But don't forget, the UN soldiers, they bring in a whole bunch, and it makes it look like they're diversified. But in essence, no. No. They're not, people. They're not.
And how government groups work with them. The same thing in Brazil.
And neither are the Chinese. The Syrians, you know, they're running drugs, right? Frenchie, right? I told you, when those Syrians moved in, they had that guy go over there that was the same fucking guy that ran the mutiny over at my little house. Okay? The guy wasn't French, he was Syrian. And he was running drugs before his family fucking even got here, for crying out loud. That's why they got the drug house. That was a drug house next door, people. After the Koreans sold it, it was that Punjabi dude, and he allowed the fucking, you know, he let it be a shack for a year and a half. And then as soon as that they were gone, he moved in the Syrians, to which one of them is running drugs in this community, as he's sitting up on freaking welfare because he's so-called disabled, driving a fucking moped, for crying out loud. Like, this is just bullshit. And they're still housing Syrians. Like, we're talking large families, like 7, 8 at a time, with their subsidies.
Still, I mean, the globalists have a formula. This is part of a larger plan, is what you're saying.
And because they're immigrants and they're so, you know, they're victims, they're the ones that get the priority with the help. They're not being targeted yet. They're just making it easy for the targeting to happen when it relates to families like mine. Because my family isn't protected. But the Syrians are. The city's got their back, right? The fucking province got their back. The federal government's got their back, right? They're allowed to flourish. They can bring in more and more and more and more and more and more Syrians. Hell, my family can't even have the right to live, the right to life. They're murdered. They're snuffed out. They just up and disappear. They're injured, right? How is my family growing? It's not. It's being cut in half. As my landlady wants to speed it up. And just sell everything. Get rid of it. Yeah, okay. Am I supposed to just get rid of my grandkids too? Is that it? How am I supposed to get rid of my grandkids? Oh, put them in foster care? Right? Then what? Die? Die. So the story could be forgotten, basically. And it would be nothing but Rumorville. She did it to herself. She was depressed. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I mean, people don't want to believe it, but there's a 3-letter agency that has ties to all these cartels, in my opinion, along with other terrorist organizations that we helped set up, and that now, I mean, you could take ISIS as an example. It's the same tactics being used.
Remember where ISIS got their guns? Holder shipped hundreds of thousands of guns to Mexico in Fast and Furious, not just to blame the Second Amendment, that was a side issue, to then ship them out of Mexico into the Middle East, Libya, and Syria for that war.
And if we don't know where those guns are now, who's to say that they're not here or coming across with these large groups of people, and especially with Title 42 getting ready to end, there's going to be a massive wave of people coming.
I don't know what Title 42 is. Doesn't sound very good. With it ending, that is.
And
everybody's afraid that when Title 42 ends, whatever's happening on the border is just going to be like a drop in a bucket. It's going to get worse.
Going to Walmart is a completely different experience in this area where I live compared to 2 years ago.
Going to Walmart and finding a Caucasian worker in Walmart, at least where I go, and I've been to more than one location, is like looking for a needle in a haystack. If you were to look for a needle in a haystack. Good luck finding a Caucasian working in Walmart in British Columbia, Canada. I'm just saying. Everybody is of brown descent. I don't know where they all come from. I'm sure they're not all Punjabis. A lot of them are, but serious, like, just kind of makes you wonder where all the white kids are working, assuming that there's even that many around anymore. Yeah. Or maybe they're just all out on the streets.
And what the gentleman said before about they have no respect for our culture, he's absolutely right. They feel entitled. They feel like the laws do not apply to them. That the laws are for Americans and not them. They're somewhat of a royalty on some type of...
well, remember the illegal alien.
It's kind of how I feel about my landlady. For whatever reason, it's like she's royalty, and I don't know what I am, but it's comparable to being a slave. Yeah, a servant. Yeah, it's like that dream I had a long time ago, trying to climb up that mountain as she was standing at the top of the mountain, and I just couldn't get up there. I couldn't stand as an equal to her. I was always below her. Yeah, and why? Because of housing. Because of housing, people. Housing that my government is giving a green light to destroy. The government can't get their revenue unless this house is destroyed. They have to destroy the house before they can build the building. And they don't care who's inside.
The UN said 2 years ago, pull up Reuters, quote, migrants exempt from COVID shots, and because, quote, there's no liability protection, because the UN wasn't going to take the liability, they made the U.S. government do that. So, yeah, they don't have to take the shots when our police had to.
Not only that, but along with the COVID, what are these people bringing across? What have they been infected with?
Yeah, a lot of diseases coming in across the border. It's getting bad through the, as they travel through the South America, in through the jungles and stuff, and they camp in between the roots. There's lots of things spreading. TB has always been an issue.
From the Black Plague in L.A. that we're seeing like a year ago.
What's the Black Pagan? Don't know. But that obviously is spreading, or did spread.
To other diseases. The one thing, if I could say, Alex, people need to get with their churches and start going and talking to other churches. Black, white, brown, it doesn't matter. But you need to start organizing.
But you see, the Punjabis, they don't see this problem because they don't see themselves as the problem. It's the opposite. They see me and my family and my culture the problem. Okay? So there's no talking. That's the problem. Right? It's business. It's good business to tear down houses and build buildings. That's what the government wants. Money. It's good business. It makes them rich. Right? So who needs to talk? It's not about talking for them.
You need to at least create I think Greg Reese put it.
Because they're going to get rewarded for this, right? You will own nothing, right? They will be the last ones to own something. Then maybe they might stand their ground. But before they stand their ground for anybody else, they'll let the shit just fucking go out the window. They will never stand for me, so I don't lose everything. But if the shoe was on the other foot, and there was no more me's and my kind, then yeah. And the government was doing what they had done already to my family and families like mine, then maybe they might stand. But as it is, they're too busy capitalizing off it, people. As the younger generation is staying quiet on it because they're hoping that their grandparents and their parents will leave them money or at least leave them houses. So you'll never see them stand up. Ever.
Out about safety committees. Why not a neighborhood watch? But you need to start organizing, and you need to turn off the TV and get out of Plato's cave, or this country's going to fall.
That's right.
Sooner than we think.
The same NGO that ran...
See, I'm referencing Punjabis because I've been around them and lived around them forever, okay? They don't see it like that. They don't see that they're going to fall. If anything, they want to be the dominating race, and that's another reason what's going on. Because governments are influenced by voting blocks, a lot of it, and but even still, even if the BC Liberal government was to come in tomorrow, it would still be business as usual. The only thing is, the BC Liberal government would go after the poorest of the poor and would make evictions easier for the landlords to because then that's what happens is they cut off people from welfare, they take away money, they do this, they're very ruthless. So then it's easier for the landlord to go in and finish the job kind of thing. I already been there, done that with the BC Liberal government. So yeah, it's
ran the invasion of Europe the last 12 years for 2.5 years is in charge. When you go to the border, you literally see purple and green-haired leftists ordering the Border Patrol and ICE around. They take orders from the NGOs.
Exactly, and people don't realize either that...
And that's what I was saying just kind of a second ago. Like, I'm not sure if, I don't know who's in control here. I don't know if it's the government controlling the Punjabis or if it's the Punjabis controlling the government with, the voting bloc and just with the numbers of them and the amount of wealth that they own and just, right?
Every country around the world that's going along with this, they're testing methods. They are testing TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures. So they see what works. And then because ultimately, this is the big target. We are the last target. So they're testing all this stuff everywhere.
I guess Canada's in the bag then. Yeah, because the Punjabis got everything on fucking lockdown. It's business as usual. Right?
Around the world, seeing what works.
And if it's not the Punjabis, it's the Chinese in the Richmond area. Right? Just saying.
And they're going to bring it down here like a hammer on a nail. And if we don't start organizing now, I'm not calling for violence. I mean, I've been to war. It doesn't solve anything. And back in 2016, when I finally opened my eyes, like, what the hell are we doing here in Afghanistan? And my kids are Afghan. And it was all a scam. It was all a money-making scam. And since...
That's what the housing market is about out here in British Columbia, Canada. It's a money-making scam. Kick out the tenants so that you can get the property to build so that I can get my taxes. And then we'll give back chump change to the tenant that's now homeless through some little $400 a year, I suppose, rental subsidy, even though there's nothing that they can afford to rent, and move on to the next subject so that people don't connect the dots.
Then I try to educate myself on this through, thankfully, your information, and then just doing research. But ultimately, I believe if we start coming together and turning off the TV, turning off the sports, getting to know your neighbor, because you're going to need them here pretty soon.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're not self-sufficient.
That's right, because the next big lockdown, the next big pandemic, the next big war is already here. God bless you. That's right, and we all feel anxiety because we can see it, but we at least we know what's going on. But yeah, this is the takedown of America. This is the replacement migration.
Yeah.
We're in a permanent underclass.
It's already happening and has happened, really, in British Columbia, Canada. It's just at an accelerated rate now. It's more bloodthirsty, right?
They can control. They snap their fingers. They burn the cities down. All right, we're going to go to.
Well, they don't burn cities down. They just bulldoze 7 houses in a row and kick out 7 houses. I mean, you can have 2 suites per house, or a whole house, whatever. You're looking at 100 people being thrown out within 7 houses. Well, maybe not. 70 to 80. We'll put 10 people in a house, 7 houses. You're looking at 70 people facing instant homelessness with no affordable housing in an instant. That's migration replacement, because it's the migrants, the immigrants, the UN soldiers, whatever you want to call them, that are doing it. And the government is encouraging it. Yeah, because they're fast-tracking permits. So, when anyone ever comes with a permit to my house and says, that's it, we're bulldozing down your house, I'll be like, okay, so the government finally gave you the green light to do that. Okay, it was the government that did that. What do you think? Okay, we're going to take a little detour here for a second. Oh, this is too funny. Okay, this is Lisa Haven, right? Oh, this light behind me. Hold on a minute. Okay, who knows? Anyway, let's just listen to her for a second here.
Biden has just declared war, and no, this war is not. Well, Biden has just declared war, and no, this war is not against any country like Russia or China. He has just literally declared war against you, the American people, and the appliances that you have in your home. And I'm not talking about just gas stove. There's about a list of 8 of them now that the Biden administration wants to go after. I mean, they really want a Hunger Games style scenario where we, the little peons, are eating
the little peons that live in these stack and pack boxes from box to box to box to box with blood in the ground, because you know there was people there long before that box building was built that basically gave up their lives for that building to be built. Okay, just saying.
Bugs and food that is made in a lab, freaking grown out of a dang petri dish, while they sit up there in their lap of luxury with their dishwashers, their refrigerators, all their electrical appliances, while us, who are suffering at the very bottom, are nothing but their freaking slaves.
If you notice, that's too funny, because she so tries to be so diplomatic and professional about what she reports on. Yeah, frickin'. Why don't you just say fucking and get it over with, right? You know, motherfucker, you just get it fucking over with, right? You know, seriously, because people who swear often are very, very, very fucking intelligent. Yeah, but, you know, people's always got something to say because they're so morally correct. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, let's dig deep into your morals and see where they take us. How about that?
I'm getting tired of this. I mean, even if you were a Democrat, I don't see...
I'm not saying she's that way. I'm saying what I'm up against. Because I'm up against that organized religion, which is nothing but morality. Right? You know what I'm saying? You know, right? They see themselves as superior to those that they cast out. Okay?
How you can be on this side other than, oh, we're saving the planet, when in all reality you can take away every electrical thing on the planet. It's still not going to save jack. I mean, this is above and beyond. I honestly, and I'm sorry to get upset right off the bat, but I don't understand how Democrats could even before something like this. He has declared war on you, and we're just going to suck it up and allow all this to happen and take place. Even the Republicans in office right now are doing nothing. They're do-nothing Republicans, and we need to start getting the right people in. But as a reminder, I'm going to go backwards before I go forward. Let's go back to 2021. You see, the Senate Democrats voted back in 2021 when Republicans actually put forth legislation. The Republicans wanted to save our gas stoves. So they put forward legislation saying, hey, we're not going to allow anybody to ban gas stoves. Will you sign on this, Democrats? And the Democrats said, hail to the no, to the no, to the no. Here's New York Post.com. Senate Democrats voted in 2021 against prohibiting gas stove bans. And I know a lot of us already know about this, but please bear with me because there's so much more than just these stoves, right? Well, we already know that they tried to do this at the federal level. Take a look here. This is on CNNbusiness.com. A U.S. federal agency is considering a ban on gas stoves. Now, this was met with some pushback in court. However, never fear. They have already passed this
I think they've done lawnmowers,
New York becomes the
weed
first state
blowers,
to ban
anything that
natural
runs on
stoves
gas.
and furnaces in most new buildings. Dun, 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 dun. In other words, you can't get your new gas stove or building, and hey, if yours just so happens to break, forget the new parts or whatever, you have to replace the whole darn thing and get a new one that's not gas stove. But hey, that's not all that they're after. I reported a couple of weeks ago that the Biden administration has upped their ante, and now they're going after leaf blowers and lawn mowers. Again, this is not all. There's still a whole...
Yeah. We know that. Let's go back where we were. That was just too funny. Frickin'! Frickin'! I frickin' want to fucking swear, but I can't. I'm on YouTube and I'm trying to hold down the fort and be a professional, hoping it will make a difference in the world.
Break, and I'm going to come right back with John, Bob, Barry, Justin, and others. In fact, Justin's up next. We'll go to John. Please remember, we're listener supported. That means share the article, share the videos. That's how we warn people.
Hold on.
You are the Paul Reveres. We're just the football wave.
Okay, Justin.
I really want the
Justin
callers to
from
give me their take on
Virginia.
what they think my analysis is, because I think it's the closest
We're back.
to what is probably going on. It fits with the cartel pattern. It fits with what's already been happening. It fits with the lies we're seeing. But what's on your mind, Justin, in Virginia?
What do you think the Biden administration is doing by sending these troops to the border? Do you think they're trying to protect the migrants to help them get in from the...
100%. That's what because they were so good at flooding the border. Now there's a problem that ICE can't even process them all. So absolutely, that's what they're going to send the troops there, not like Trump did to secure it, but to help process them.
Exactly. That's the only reason I can think of why they would send troops down there is to help them get in.
100%. There's not even a debate about that. There's not even a debate.
But instead of building a wall, why not put 2 miles deep of landmines all across the border and let these people choose their own damn destiny?
Well, the country's under invasion, and that would save lives, because again, the cartels have killed 200,000 people. The Department of Justice estimates the last 12 years, and most of them trying to come to the border. I mean, literally, they leave 53 of them here, 25 of them there, to die in 18-wheelers every week, and the media doesn't even touch it. Because it's not the sexy story they want, because it's not evil white people killing Hispanics. It's the drug cartels.
Line the border with landmines, put up signs, deadly force authorized past this point, let them take care of themselves.
It's totally sick. You know, if we've got tens of millions, and it's probably 8 million a year conservative right now coming across, some go back and forth. Imagine when Title 42 goes down. They say it's going to be like a bomb going off.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be crazy. And there's a lot of people that question why Trump didn't come out against the vaccine. I understand that, but what if he's not strong enough to defend that right now, defend his point?
No, I hear you. Well, that's the inside argument is he knows he screwed up, but he thinks that would then be used against him. So, yeah, that's really where it is.
Right. All right. Appreciate you, Alex. Love you.
Appreciate you. Love you guys too. All right, let's go to John in Dallas. Went to the same prison in Dallas as Tango Blast gang that both these recent killers are reportedly part of. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Alex, how you doing? Long-time listener.
God bless you for calling. What's on your mind?
So I did go to prison in 2012 to 2014, and we don't put those kind of tattoos. We do the Dallas sign with a star, not with the leaf, and not with the Texas sign. That is a free world tattoo, not a prison tattoo.
Okay,
that is not Tango Blast.
All right, so what's your MO on this guy? What do you think he's doing?
I'm going to say he was just I don't think he ever went to prison. He may have went to county a couple of times, but yes, I think he definitely maybe got compromised and they played with his brain and he carried out this hideous mission. That's my thought.
Well, that's what cartels do. I mean, anybody that's watched the great Netflix, it's super accurate because I've read the history. They grab you and say, "We're going to kill your wife and daughter if you don't do this."
Yeah. So what do you think about parasites being put into people to make them crazy and make them carry out these hits?
Well, I know that's a Wrath of Khan, probably the best Star Trek there is, but I don't like Star Trek. That's a good movie. I just watched it the other day again. There are some parasites, like the one that cats have, that make people mentally ill. That's an interesting thought. What made you think of that?
I saw something on Reese Report about that, but it was a video from months ago.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember Reese's report about the parasites.
Yeah, and then from them, it makes them more gullible and lets them mess with them easier if they're under that state of mind.
Highly suggestible. So you're saying you're in Puro Tango Blast, and you're saying those tattoos?
Puro Tango Blast. Tango Blast is Texans against negative gang organizations. We're only in Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin. Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth. Yes, sir. The Four Horsemen. Then you have other tangos, West Texas Tango, and then you have other things. The guy in Brownsville, he's an older gang.
But of course, we don't have Punjabi gangs out here. We have Punjabi family units. And they're not gangs. They're family units. They're multi-generational family units. That's why they live in monster homes, because they're considered multi-generational. And somehow that gives them the green light to do whatever it is that they want to do. And they stick together, right? Whereas families like mine are torn apart. Okay?
Member. He may have been in prison a long time ago, so he's probably part of the mafia gang.
All right, thank you so much for the call. I know this. They're lying and saying these are white supremacists. The guy that killed everybody up in Dallas with El Paso. There's reportedly 40,000 in McAllen across the border about to come in. I mean, this
60,000, 30,000, and they're all waiting for Thursday so they can flood the border after they bring down Title 42, the federal government.
This is going to make all the previous surges look like child's play. We can roll B-roll for TV viewers of just over the weekend. Food trucks pulling up in El Paso, being just overwhelmed with people begging for food. And people say, that's not America. Look in the lower right-hand corner. The truck says El Paso. It'll pan down in a minute. Yes, that's out of local news. But most of this is not hitting the national news. So Biden's created such a huge problem, broken the border. Now he's sending troops down to facilitate the whole thing. I want to go over to the real crime statistics, how the left's trying to cause race riots again. I've got military.
And then what happens is a lot of them find their way to the Canadian border up on the east coast of Canada and start crossing there. And then they come into Canada that way, right, if they are wanting to come here. We just don't ever hear about it too much. As we're having millions of so-called legal immigrants just showing up out of nowhere, 10,000 at a time, when they're not coming in and filling up house after house after house after house, people. And it's just a charade to tear it all down after the fact. And I guess they save on their capital tax, right? To kick out the tenant, move in, live for a while, and then bulldoze it down, don't have to pay the capital tax. Who knows? I don't know. A lot of shady shit going on out here in British Columbia, Canada.
News, I've got economy news, I've got AI news, I've got Tucker Carlson news. You notice what I told you when Tucker got fired?
Okay, I'm waiting for the phone call, so hold on.
Newsmax.
Okay, I just dropped
Patrick
the camera,
and David,
so
I'm
who
holding your breath about
knows?
getting Tucker. All right, let's
I could
go
have
ahead
screwed this
and
camera
I
over.
like those guys. You know, they're
I
pretty
won't
nice,
know
but
until it comes time
don't hold
to
the breath.
upload
Let's
onto
go
the
ahead
computer
and
and convert
talk
and all that
to
crap. See how this is recording.
Bob in Oregon, Air Force.
It's not
on
good to
the
drop
migrant
these
crime wave.
camcorders.
Go ahead.
All right, doesn't take
Alex,
much to break
how are
them.
you, sir?
Good, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you know, what I see is they're trying to have our attention, obviously, on what's going on. It's horrendous. Watching these young kids, these young, little, innocent kids. My God, you know. But they're keeping our eyes on this, but there's bigger fish being fried in the background. We know that. It's time to start really watching your communities. My God, I tell you, we're so separated in this country. I remember growing up, and, you know, even though you had to fight, rumble, and roll to get along in your community, when something happened, everybody pulled together. We don't have that now. We're so separated.
Well, we don't have that in Canada either. We have one class against another class, right? Where they're destroying they're just destroying people, right? They're not trying to uplift the community. They're taking it over and destroying what they don't want. And they're finding ways to make excuses around it. Right?
It's time to really dig down, find out who is not separated in like mind. Because if we let this happen, it's going to be just like watching, you know, the Holocaust that obviously they say it didn't happen.
British Columbia, Canada is already in a Holocaust. Shimei was a victim to that Holocaust. Sierra was a victim to that Holocaust. Uncle John was a victim to that Holocaust. Amari is a victim to that Holocaust. So is Andre. And the rest of my family. And people like my family. Okay?
Happened. Well, it happened. And you watch those people line up, and thousands of people with 10, 15, 20 guards on the side with automatic weapons being led to those train cars. And nobody did anything about it. Well, some of them did.
We just get pushed out onto the streets until we're completely broken. And then we get lured to our death if we're not killed on the spot with hot capping. Mm-hmm. Right? Or we're taken out in our houses.
Some of them did fight back. Some of them did get away. But now if they all would have pulled together, half of them, not even half of them, a quarter of them would have pulled together, they could have took those guns.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, look, guns stop crime way more than they're used in crime. We need more guns to protect ourselves. And I'm only showing this so people understand it. This is a gun-free zone. You see that family with that little 5-year-old girl with her brains blown out. And I'm showing this so people understand that you need to have situational awareness. You need to be armed. You need to know that this type of stuff's going on. And again,
yeah, 100%.
That is.
So, we'll just stop for that for now. How is that family that lost their lives that we were just looking at here a second ago any different than my family, who have lost their lives and are continuing to be in jeopardy of losing our lives? It's not any different, people. It's just being done in a different way. That's all. Yeah. So this is a long video, so maybe, I don't know, BitChute, I can try and put this link into the description box, and if you want to go listen to it, you can. And that's assuming that, you know, who knows? Because this is subjects that make people uncomfortable. Right? This is all about the old okie dokie. Okay, I'm going to end this video here. Okay? You can see what this is. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, it's the Persons with Disabilities Designation Application, Section 1. Now, I already submitted this in 2018, I think it was, through my family doctor. And it was denied because they didn't see glaucoma as a issue. There was other things in there as well, but they used the glaucoma as the reason to deny me disability. And then they gave me 1 week just 1 week. I'm pretty sure it was 1 week to appeal it. So, but I had to take it back to my family doctor and have him revise it or something. And so when I phoned the clinic, he was gone for 3 weeks. So I couldn't do it, people. Of course, there was no gang stalking, premeditated, none of that involved, right? Either or, it never went through. And I couldn't appeal it because my family doctor wasn't available. He was gone for 3 weeks, and I only had the 1 week to do it. So, okay, so anyway, in December of 2020, I went to go see him, right? I got a mass exemption. I wanted him to fill out my disability form. He said, no, we're going to leave it until after the new year. I said, okay. And he says, but when you come back, you have to pay me $250 this time. I said, okay, whatever. And he kind of rushed me, right? So the issue of my getting a referral or, because I can't get eye drops unless you get them from an eye specialist. And the only person who can give you eye drops is the eye specialist. Your family doctor can't give you eye drops. Eye clinics can't give you eye drops. Nobody can give you eye drops except an eye specialist. So anyway, when I left from talking to my doctor, after he said he wasn't going to do my disability form and to come back in a new year, obviously I went to the reception area and I started filling out the paperwork for Shemai's and Sierra's medical files. And he said, what's this? And I said, well, I'm trying to, I want my daughter's medical files. That's when he stood there and he straight up told me to take him to court, that I wasn't going to get them. And that if I wanted them, I had to take him to court. He said, take me to court, take me to court. That's what he told me, people. And he said, you're not getting your daughter's medical files, take me to court. Anyway, I put the application in anyway, and the only thing those people did was phone me back up on the phone and said that I couldn't have them. So whatever. And that was December of 2020. Okay, so we know in April of 21, after the 22nd of April of 21, on the 22nd of April, I was still able to see quite well. And then between the 22nd, after they blew out Debbie's house, and I had that, whatever that thing was, sitting outside by my blueberry bush with his fucking shotgun. After he took my chair off my porch, he unscrewed my light bulb, people. For all I know, maybe he put some sort of crap on that light bulb so that when I went and screwed it on, and, wasn't thinking maybe, went like this, it got, who knows, because after that, by the end of the month, not even a week later, I was blind as a bat. Blind as a bat, people. Like as blind as I am now. And I've never recovered. Okay? Then I went to that clinic at the end of April because they said, sure, come on, because I was phoning, couldn't get anybody from the time I left that doctor's office up until finally in April, by the 31st of April, I found the clinic over there in the mall that said, yes, come on in, we'll take you right away, and we'll give you a referral that day. Because I told them it was really bad. So I went, and they didn't even look inside my eyes. He just said, it sounds like late-stage glaucoma, don't worry, we'll put in a referral. They never put a referral in, people. I phoned back a month and a half later. I asked them where the referral was. They said they hadn't even put it in yet. But don't worry, they phoned me back the next day and said, oh, the referral went in. But it was in September by this time. So we're talking May, June. So by June, the referral was just going in around, right? And yeah, middle of May. No. At the middle of June. That's when the referral was finally put in, even though I seen the eye clinic in April of 31st, right? And waiting for the referral, phoning the hospital, asking them if maybe I should come in and, you know, whatever, and I can't even peel potatoes, and, you know, I mean, I can peel them, but I can't see them as well as I'd like to, and, you know, what should I do? And then I went to the appeals court on September 23rd of 2022. And from there, I went straight to the Royal Columbian Hospital. And that's where I got my referral immediately, ASAP. And within a week, I was seeing an eye specialist in Westminster. And now I have 2 eye specialists that I'm dealing with at this point. Well, all my medical records, doesn't matter how they're being formulated, whether they're coming in from the Royal Columbian Hospital or through this through these eye specialists, it's all being forwarded to my family doctor's medical files. But he's a family doctor. I can't go see people because the last time he talked to me, he stood there and he told me to take him to court. And it's not like I didn't try phoning around asking about maybe trying to find a family doctor, but COVID was around, so nobody was seeing nobody. We already discussed that. Okay, so anyway, I asked the eye specialist to fill this out for me. So he did the first one, right? Because I see 2, right? So the first one he did, and, you know, I put it in. Then they sent it back to me. They said it wasn't completed, that I needed Section 2 completed. I guess he hadn't signed it or something. Or no, he signed it, but I don't think he dated it. And there's Section 3 that needs to be done, but I don't have a family doctor. Well, I do, but I can't go see him, so there's no way he's going to be able to fill it. He won't fill it out for me, and if he does, he's going to charge me $250, as if, okay? And, I don't have a social worker. I don't have a psychiatrist. I don't have any of those kind of people in my life, okay? So there isn't anybody I can go to and ask them to fill out Section 3. So I'm going to put this in a 3rd time because the doctor that I'm seeing here with my eyes right now that's going to do the surgery in the right eye soon, right? He said fill out this section, right? This time fill it out because last time I didn't fill out this section. He said, no, you fill it out. So I'm going to read to you what I wrote because it's going to be submitted without my family doctor filling out anything or anybody else filling out anything other than the eye specialist and myself. Because they already have the first application on my file from 2018 from Dr. Fasinski. Okay? And they denied that one based on glaucoma. Now they're denying it because I can't get them filled out correctly. Go figure. Okay, so let's see what I can do here. Now when I was sitting there writing it, I could do it. Not so bad. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't so hard. But now that I have to sit there and read my writing, can you see? I still write. Okay? It's kind of hard because I don't see ink very well anymore, right? After I get this eye surgery done, I don't know if they'll do this one because there's only 2% vision on this one in terms of changing the cataract, right? 2% vision isn't very much vision. But after this is done, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with this one, and then I'm going to go see an optometrist, and I'm going to see if I can get 2 or 3 pairs of glasses that are like specially made for me. I don't know how it's going to work, if it will make much of a difference, but this flipping glasses between dollar store glasses that the majority of them don't work for nothing, it's giving me headaches and making me dizzy, and it's hard. It's just hard. And of course, my eyes are getting worse, not better. I'd like to think they're getting better, but they're not. Okay, so I'm just going to read through this quickly because this is what I wrote based on what the eye specialist said that I should fill out this section. So I'm going to fill it out. I filled it out, and it is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. First time, I just put down severe vision loss. That was it, with my GA number. This time, when I hand it in, I'm going to put this. It says, on the advice of Dr. Blank, an eye specialist currently involved with I am currently involved with I am writing to, hold on a minute, I have to get some water. Okay, I'll just continue here. It's not that much. It's to the point, right? It's just, I can't see it. That's the problem. Oh boy, oh lordy. Oh my god. You don't even know, people. This is the shit that makes me fucking dizzy, man. Yep. And it's getting worse too. Okay. I was so proud of myself that I could write it, but now I can't read it. Go figure, right? It's because I had my nose to it when I was writing it, right? And, you know, when you get to a point like me, you tend to get through life because you've done it forever. Like, I've been writing forever. Like, ever. I actually write, right? So it's nothing to write, but it's different to read. And if you can't see it, it's hard. Okay. Alright, let's just start again. On the advice of Dr. Blank, because we don't want you-know-who, right, to be running around gang stalking a doctor yet. An eye specialist I am currently involved with. Andre, turn that down. I am writing to let you know that in December of 2020, Dr. Visinski, that one I will name out, located at the Central City Medical Clinic, refused to fill out my second disability application, with reason being he told me to come back after the new year and he would do it then, because he had already done it once in 2018, but it was denied. And when I went back to try and appeal it with him, because they gave me 1 week to appeal and he had to fill out something before I could submit it, he was gone for 3 weeks, so that never happened. So it took me 2 years to go back and try it again. Okay? As my eyes were deteriorating. Keep that in mind now, people. Okay? He would do it then. Andre, turn it down.
Is that better?
Yes, because I can't see and I'm trying to focus and concentrate.
Okay.
However, well, maybe if I turn on this light it might help. Just hold on. Oh, it is on. Light bulb went out. Not necessarily, because the eyes start going like this. However, he also informed me that I would have to pay $250 for his service. For his service. Okay, so he said, no, I'm not filling it out. Come back in the new year. But when you come back, bring $250 with you. Because he was going to charge me this time for it. Okay? When I went to the reception area to request the medical files of my deceased daughters, Sierra Chorney and Shmay Chorney, Dr. Visinski told me directly that he wasn't going to allow me to have access to these files and that I needed to take him to court. Needless to say, I have not been back to see Dr. Visinski since that day, despite him still being my family doctor. Regarding my eyes, it took me to finally go to the Royal Columbian Hospital under a emergency intake to get a referral to see an eye specialist. Because my eyes deteriorated without having access to eye drops as a result of what Dr. Visinski did, and as a result of COVID restrictions, which made it impossible to get a referral to see an eye specialist to have eye drops. One day, I just woke up practically blind. That's how fast it happened, people. My blindness has been confirmed by Dr. Blank and by Dr. Blank. By two doctors, two eye specialists, because I see two eye specialists, right? Who are both eye specialists, and I am now under their care with my medical reports being forwarded to Dr. Wyszynski, because he's my family doctor. Because if I remove myself from him, I will not have a family doctor. And I don't ever get out, and I don't ever see doctors, so it's not like I can go off and just find a family doctor. It's not that simple. It really isn't that simple. It's quite hard to find a family doctor. So I'm afraid to just drop the one that I have, even though I can't fucking go see him, if that makes any sense. All of Mari's medical files go to him. Andre never goes to see the doctor, but if he did, if it was outside of Dr. Wyszynski where he's at, all those files would be forwarded to Dr. Wyszynski, right? It's not just cut me off, it's cut off the kids too, right? I don't know, it's just a messed up situation all the way around. Okay, to whom? So all my medical files, medical reports are being forwarded to Dr. Wyszynski, to whom is still my family doctor, but only I cannot see him for any reason, because his last words to me were, "Take me to court for your dead daughter's medical files." Therefore, there is no one who can fill out any other form within this disability package, as I am not package, as I am not involved with social workers or any other health professional outside of the eye specialists I now see regularly. I have been informed that my situation will never get better, as the octave nerve damage in both my eyes is too extensive and non-reversible. So I do what I can in a day, where some tasks are much more difficult than others, whereas some tasks are now completely impossible, and I need assistance with visual information as to what it is I am looking at, or helping or help with finding something I can't see, locate. Right? So if I can't, I'm looking for something, I can't see it, I say, Andre, come and help me and look for this, because I just can't find it, right? Or if I'm looking at something, like let's say I peel potatoes, right? I peeled a potato, I'll call Andre to come to make sure that I didn't miss something that maybe I can't see it, just things like that, right? If I wash dishes, I can feel with my fingers and I can tell if there's food on it. It's not necessary that I see it, because I can feel that there's something on there. Right, so I don't call anybody, did I wash this dish nice and clean? I can feel it. I can, from what I can see, but basically from what I can feel, I know, right? Stupid. I try so hard not to get angry. Anyway. I manage at this point by pacing myself through daily activities based on years of experience of already doing them for years. It's much more difficult to see as life has become very cloudy or foggy. But the 13% vision in my right eye so far has managed to get me by where I can still maintain my responsibilities to my grandchildren who are in my care as a result of their mothers being dead. And that's the way I'm going to leave it, people. Just like that. Just like that. Yep. And if they want to send it back to me and deny me for a third time because I couldn't get my family doctor to fill out Section 3, or some social worker or a psychiatrist or whatever it is that they want, like, that just shows you how they're targeting people, right? Seriously. They want Dr. Wyszynski's fucking shit. It's there on their file already, okay? He filled it out in 2018, and they denied it. And they set the stage where, when I went back to go have him do whatever needed to be done, he wasn't even there, and he was gone for 3 weeks. So, like, it's a fucking joke, right? Like, this is what I mean. They strategize. They have it all pre-planned as to how they're going to be targeting you before they even fucking target you. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. Stupid. Anyway, I don't know. Some of these pages don't even match up from what I can tell. Like, seriously. I mean, look at all this. I'm just going to leave it like that. It's all mixed up. There's 2 pages. One says 8 of 24, and the other one says 8 of 25. As if I can freaking figure it out. Stupid. So, I don't know. I'm just going to put mine in front, I guess. I don't know. I can't even see it myself. They took out a soldier. That's what they did, people. I've done a lot of paperwork over the years, and now I can't see shit. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, and it happened really fast. Yeah, and because I was so stressed out with the yard and the kids and just whatever, and couldn't get a fucking referral. The last thing I was thinking about was going blind. That was the last thing I was thinking about. I thought I had a few more years. I was trying not to panic because I couldn't get a referral. I'm like, calm down. You've had glaucoma all this long. You'll get through it. You'll be fine, right? You'll get this. You'll get soon. And next thing you know, wait a minute, what happened? And I do believe energy weapons instigate this shit. When I get a little caught up with things, one day I'll go into my videos, I'll pull up those ones. There's not that many, but there's enough in there to prove the fact that energy weapons go through my house and go through my yard. Yeah. Yeah. Not that it's going to change anything, but Anyway, put this first, and then whatever I was talking on about there with Alex Jones. Give the cops the benefit of the doubt, cut them some slack, whatever it is. It's a joke though, right? All the way around.